All right.
Oh, we
Welcome.
got. Oh no, is that a Home Depot entrance? That's a
Let me
Home
turn
Depot entrance.
that down some. All right, y'all. Welcome to the Hoopsters podcast. I'm your host here. Daryl is always here with my guy Justin. Zeno will be joining us in a little bit, as long with who is it?
Dev.
Yeah, Dev. So how you been doing today, man? What's going on with it?
Man, look, very, very busy, yet very calm. This is my first week in a minute where I've had like, um, a lot of time to like really do whatever, and I have done not too much. So, I went to go run, and then went and got me a little bit of breakfast, and now I'm getting on the winding down stage. What about you, brother?
And same as always, working as always in school. Got the first exam coming up on Wednesday, so a little excited about that. But
Yeah, tell them where you at right now.
I'm actually East Rutherford, New Jersey, about to go see the New York Giants and Dallas Cowboys game for Week 1 for the NFL season.
Crazy,
So it's
crazy.
it's, it's gonna be lit, especially since it's prime time.
Hey, that's a vibe. I ain't gonna lie to you. But all right. So, Laura, for today, we're going to be talking about. We're going to start off the show with talking about our top ten for this year, and then we're also going to be talking about the Miami Heat and the 2023 NBA champions, the Denver Nuggets. I am very excited to talk about the Denver Nuggets. Not so much to talk about Miami because it's typically only one like summary that goes to them this offseason. But we're going to talk about them. But first, we're going to talk about the top 10. Now, um, the tricky thing about talking about the top 10 that I have found is when we are speaking on these players, a lot of people starts to divvy up their values with other people's values, and that just makes other people's take wrong. And that's not what I do. That's not what we do here. We typically have our own stances. The only thing that we typically agree on is that we try to be relatively consistent. So when it comes to my top 10, I value impact both in the regular season and in the postseason. Although it can slightly contradict itself when it comes to players like Luca, LeBron. Or even Dame, who I don't think I have in my top 10. Um, I typically try to stay as consistent as possible when it comes to the level of impact on either side of the ball or even both sides of the ball, and how it translates from regular season to postseason. I think I explained that pretty well, right? Oh shit, Daryl's muted. So I'm just go ahead and start. All right. So at number one, I have Giannis Antetokounmpo. I think we have spoken enough about him as like being the best power forward in the game, but as the best player in the world. A lot of people will be shocked because they think that Jokic should be the best player in the world. I believe if you told me that Jokic was the best player in the world, I would not fight you too much on it. In my opinion, though, I do value Giannis's defense and his offensive production. And although he does have a drop off, a pretty severe drop off, I would like to say that it typically is only with it is typically only with the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat because they have the requisite pieces to make it hard for him. And although yes, he does drop off from a efficiency level, he gives you so much. He gives you so much of production as a off-ball defender, as a rebounder, as a portable piece that can be able to play power forward or center, guarding multiple positions. That he more than makes up for it. And I think outside of Miami and Boston, I don't think that any other defense gives him nearly as much trouble. Although, yes, he did drop off As a shooter, I think he is continuously making progress as a playmaker slash passer. I think defensively, I think his chops is only further going to be explored as Brook Lopez continues to get older. And yeah, I think Giannis is number one. But that means if Giannis is number one, I have Jokic number two because I think Jokic is. We spoke about him as well. I think Jokic passing, playmaking, his elite scoring, and how it translates to the playoffs is like, you know, it's far. It's not even discussed how great of a scorer he is. I think people fall in love with the passing and just leaves it at that. And it's like, no, scoring wise, this man has a legit case as the best scorer in the world. I think as a rebounder, he is fantastic. I think the only thing that I have gripes with him about is his defense. And even then, he upgraded it just a little bit this year. It's still a bad defender, but a far cry from the defensive liability he once was. So I have him at number two. Number three, I have Stephen Curry. I think Stephen Curry, for the last few years now, has upped his offensive production all around to the point of where he truly cannot be put in a box as just a shooter. I think he is an amazing finisher for his size. One of the greatest like small guard finishers, which says a lot because people don't talk about his finishing. I think as a passer playmaker, I think he continues to progress in that sense as Draymond begins to his skills diminish. I think defensively, I don't think he gives enough credit for how he has turned himself from a bad or horrendous defender to a good / above average defender. He is not a liability once anymore. I hate when people bring that argument. He has not been a bad defender since like 2017. Let's see. As also a side note, he is also a great rebounder. I put him at 3. And 4th, I have Luka. Like I said, Luka didn't make the playoffs this year, so it's a little difficult to rank him. Although I will say they were on pace to make the playoffs until Kyrie came and they gutted the little defense that they already had. That being Dorian Finney-Smith and Spencer Dinwiddie. In Luka's case, Luka's playoff translation and his offensive package is going to be stuff of legend, to be quite honest with you. Like when we talk about this dude, Luka has everything that you could ask for from an offensive player when you think of his build, his size, his finishing skills, his mid-range ability, his three-point ability, his passing ability is, dare I say, at this point in his career, up there with LeBron's right now. His post play at the 3 spot, like he is amazing all around offensively. The only part that he just truly cannot like get better at is defense. And I think he maxed out in 2021. Is that when he went to the Western Conference Finals? He maxed out there. And I think it has gotten gradually worse, granted, because the workload that he has on his back, carrying the offense for the Dallas Mavericks has gotten significantly worse. They traded Jalen Brunson, not traded. They let Jalen Brunson walk, which was his main offensive piece. And then this past season, although they did give him a upgrade from Jalen Brunson and Kyrie Irving, they gave him a worse defender, and they gutted his defense, the little defense that he already had with Dorian Finney-Smith and Spencer Dinwiddie, to get Kyrie Irving. So in that sense, it sort of worked. It sort of worked itself out as far as like the offense is upgraded, but the defense is terrible. With that being said, I think the pickups that they got in the offseason has sort of gotten them back on track. We'll see. I'm not super high on Grant Williams' defense, but I understand he does have a place in a defensive role. So there's that. At 5, I have Joel Embiid. Now this is the one where people start to get like a little bit wavy on me, because how can you have Luka at fourth, but Joel Embiid at fifth? Like, Joel Embiid made the playoffs. Joel Embiid's offensive production in the regular season is far superior than Luka Doncic's. And although that is true in the regular season, in the postseason, he drops to. I'm not gonna lie to you. Joel Embiid's like drop off from like the playoffs compared to his regular season production is like something that could really make me like, if we just talked about playoffs by itself, he drops from like a top 5 player to like barely a top 10 player. And I'm not joking. Because I think that his defense is like quite a skip. I don't hold too much stock in his defense, because I feel like if you put Joel Embiid in the Western Conference Finals, not in the Western Conference Finals, but if you put him in the Western Conference dealing with the likes of Stephen Curry, Damian Lillard, he would get cooked relatively like routinely, similar to Jokic. And people call Jokic a terrible defender. So I don't understand where this logic of like Joel Embiid being like an awesome like defender when he hasn't truly gone against like the elite players that could take advantage of his flaws, which he does have flaws. That being said, though, in the regular season, offensively, he is spectacular. I think defensively, he is also spectacular. I think as a rebounder, he is, although I am disappointed in his rebounding, I do understand he still is a solid rebounder. He's just not the rebounder that I think he should be. And so, yeah, he sits at top. He sits at the fifth because nobody truly is contesting him for that spot, if we're being quite honest with you, because at the sixth spot, we have Anthony Davis. I think Anthony Davis, after this past season, has put himself back in the spot as arguably the best defender in the world. And yes, I mean the world. Nobody should outside of like a select few. There's not really too many people that can test him there, because what he provides defensively is like it's unheard of. Outside of like your top 3 defenders all time, he is able to man a defense with terrible defenders on the floor at all times, and he's able to do it rather routinely and easily. To tell you the truth, this past season with the Lakers, they were dealing with implosions like out the wazoo as far as like the front office, the locker room, on the floor, all over the place. And yet Anthony Davis was able to get Russell Westbrook. He was able to maximize the defense out of Russell Westbrook, Austin Reeves. Who else was on there? Dennis Schroeder, Rui Hachimura, Jared Vanderbilt, D'Angelo Russell. Am I forgetting anybody, Daryl? LeBron James, who did not have a good defensive season this year. I'm sorry, Thomas Bryant, Mo Bamba. Those type of players were maximized defensively on the back of Anthony Davis, because Anthony Davis is that spectacular of a defender. He's able to man a pick and roll, be perfect in his ability of roaming around the perimeter while also having knowledge of what's going on in the paint at all times. His rim protection is also fantastic. His ability to contest like very elite guard play is I think his quietly his best attribute. I think his ability to guard a player like Stephen Curry on the perimeter, although Stephen Curry is the greatest shooter of all time and one of the greatest ball handlers of all time, his ability to stay in front of him constantly was amazing for me to see. His ability to guard players like Dame off the pick and roll was also amazing. I could go on and on about Anthony Davis's defense, but his offense needs to be spoken about, and his offense continually takes a drop off because of his time not being on the court. So I give him a little bit of slack on that end, because he's not able to get the regular reps in because he's always hurt. But I think his defense more than makes up for it. Oh, it's also, I would be remiss not to mention that he also is a terrible playmaker. He's almost averaging as many turnovers as he's averaging assists, and that doesn't even describe it, because when he goes on the post, he's relatively slow with making reads and whatnot. So
his post moves are terrible.
Yeah, that's Anthony Davis for you. He's an amazing defender, but a so-so offensive player at this end. I'd say slightly above average.
Right.
At the 7th spot, we're gonna go Jason Tatum. I have people. You know what's crazy? People call me a Joel Embiid hater, but they should really like. You should really hear my take when it comes to Tatum. So here we go. So when it comes to Tatum, Tatum is like one of the most like curious George ass players I've ever seen in the NBA. The reason for it is when he is at the top of his game. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Jason Tatum has a case for being better than Joel Embiid. If we're being quite honest with you, the reason for it is Jason Tatum's defense when he's locked in is like so fantastic because he can guard so many positions so well. And his playmaking continuously takes like a step up. And as far as his scoring, he has these explosions when he's locked in, where it's like it's almost like KD like, where he's able to get wherever he wants, whenever he wants. He has the requisite size for him to be able to shoot over people that typically would give you like trouble, and he's able to make it look relatively effortless. He has the great finishing on his side. He's a great free throw shooter. Like he's just efficient offensively and defensively, and it's like it's amazing. Like he hypothetically, to be honest with you, Tatum should have a case for being a top 4 player. He should be better than Luka. The problem is when it comes to Tatum doesn't do it consistently enough. Like Tatum, when he wants to, he puts on those performances. But the problem is those performances come like when it's damn near little too late. Like you've already done the damage to the team chemistry. He relies on Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart and Derek White and Malcolm Brogdon entirely too much. He gets spoon fed to a certain extent. And he just lets go of the will. He gets lazy. He sees, I don't know what he sees in the crowd or something like that, and he just stops playing hard, and he becomes very passive. He's a very passive player, and that's my problem with Tatum. Although I understand what he brings to the table as a player, I think he has the talent to be a top 5 player, like non-discussed. I think his motor is my question with him. And he's really one of outside of Anthony Davis's offensive play. I think he's the only player that I have concerns about his. And Joel Embiid. He's the only player out of those two that I have questions about his motor. And so I think and not to even to speak about his rebounder. Like I think he's a fantastic rebounder. But yeah, enough about Tatum. We're gonna move on to the 8th spot. And there I have, and this is not pissing a lot of people off, but I think it should, which is weird because people not disagreeing with me is something I should be happy with, but I'm not happy with it. I'm going with Devin Booker. I think Devin Booker has solidified himself as a top 10 player.
Oh, you're gonna hate my list then.
Huh?
You're gonna hate my list. But go on.
I think Devin Booker at the 8th spot is like perfect for him because I think that he has shown the ability to man an offense very, very competently. I think his playmaking has taken another step this past season. I think as a shooter, I don't think people understand the brinks that he's on if he does not get hurt. I think that's slowly like a small little problem with him. He's getting hurt like in the middle of the season, which is making him, miss a few games, which is making it very hard for me to push him over the top. But I think he can get through it if he gets the requisite pieces that can help him. I think the problem is he had CP3 supposed to be his co-star, and CP3 started to slowly diminish as a player, and Mikal Bridges slid into that. And Mikal Bridges was able to. I'm sorry, I got a text. Mikal Bridges was able to slowly get into that role as the second best player on the team, and he fit into that role very finally. The problem was CP3. What CP3 did for the team is not what Mikal Bridges does for the team as a second best player. And so Devin Booker had to take on Chris Paul's playmaking alongside being a point of attack defender now because Chris Paul was once that player. And then he had to also still maintain his level of production as a scorer. Now, this is the beautiful part about Devin Booker. Devin Booker was able to do all of that and then some. He still had the Phoenix Suns. I want to say they were like a 3rd or 4th seed before he got hurt, and they were fantastic. They were singing like seamlessly. I was watching every single Phoenix game. And I was paying attention to his statistical like production. And Devin Booker, before he got hurt, there was no discussion. He like even though Donovan Mitchell was like dropping like 71 and stuff like that, there was never a discussion this season about Donovan Mitchell being the best shooting guard in the game. Devin Booker is the best. It's not even a discussion. And to be honest with you, he was on pace to solidify himself as like a top 6, as a top 7 player, a top 6 player, if Anthony Davis didn't like show that, hey, I can be healthy every once in a while and still produce this level. So I say that to say Devin Booker this past season, as a scorer, he was massively efficient. Like he was borderline KD-ish on KD's like standard year. That was Devin Booker's year. As a playmaker, he had grown like leaps and bounds as far as like being able to read around the perimeter. I think the only thing that he still has to produce, he has to get better at, is playmaking out of like the corners and stuff like that. Like he feels a little bit of trap, which is okay. Like he's not a born playmaker like a Luka or a Jokic, so it'll take time. But I think he's already gotten like the basic pieces of playmaking. I think as a rebounder, he's very good. I think as an off-ball player, that is a quiet like talk when it comes about these players. All the players that I mentioned, they're all basically ball dominant except for Steph and Devin Booker. That is the only 2 in my top 10 that are not ball dominant. Oh, and Anthony Davis. Yeah. Okay. I guess so. But yeah, that's Devin Booker for you. I love talking about Devin Booker. Don't get me on my rant. But that's gonna bring us to our 9th spot, and we have KD. Now, that's why people slowly like have a pause. But like, you think he's better than KD and LeBron? I'd be like, absolutely, because I think that KD and LeBron like slowly, like quiet as kept, they're just getting older, and that's okay. Like, it's okay to hit this part where you're just not better than the young guys. You can't be the best for forever. You know what I'm saying? And so when it comes to KD, he's sort of suffering from the same problems he's always had like throughout his entire career. The only problem is he's lost the athleticism for him to be able to disguise it or be able to make up for it with his elite level offense, like scoring, his scoring ability, and even his spurts of being like a fantastic defender. I think as a playmaker, he's always been like, I want to say like good enough. Definitely not better than most of the players that I have in my top 10 outside of Anthony Davis and Joel Embiid. I actually after them two, I think he's after that, to be honest with you. But I think defensively, outside of run protection or even off ball roaming, if you want to give him that, it's not moving me. But if you want to say that, then okay, fine. Outside of those two, defensively, he is not good. I would not advise you to watch Kevin Durant fight through a pick and roll or be manning a pick and roll. He's very lackadaisical, very lazy. And it's uncomfortable for him because he's playing the power forward spot, and he's only been playing the power forward spot for about, I want to say like 3 years, since he's come back from the ACL tear. And so it's an awkward spot for him because he still struggles with making the reads that power forwards that's been doing this for years are making. And again, it's okay because he's getting older and he's dealing with an ACL tear. But as far as his game goes currently, he is an amazing scorer, a fantastic scorer, and a fantastic mid-range scorer specifically. But as a playmaker, he leaves a lot to be desired. As a rebounder, he's okay. As a defender, I would put him as a above average defender. And that's his game for you. Like that's I don't know what else to tell you guys when it comes to KD. KD is still a fantastic player. He's top 10. There's nothing wrong with being top 10 and you're just not top 5 anymore. Because this next player is going to be in the same boat. He went from being the best player to being out of the top 5. LeBron James. I think LeBron James this past season, if there was any wonder in my head over when LeBron was going to show like a significant drop, it was this past year. Now, granted, LeBron had an injury that hindered him the entire season. That forced him to not be as good, not to be his best self. So he may show me something different next season. But I'm talking about this past season. And when we're talking about this past season, LeBron James as a passer, I say, was his worst self since like his rookie and sophomore season. The reason I say that is because what LeBron was able to do when he was healthy, or when he or a couple years ago when he first joined the Lakers, what LeBron was able to do was LeBron was able to wager his ability to put pressure on the rim, and he was able to create a lot of actions for players that otherwise had no business being able to get simple layups around the basket, or even simple shots like KCP, Kyle Kuzma. These are not like fantastic off ball players, but because LeBron is putting himself in the post, he's putting himself around the rim, putting pressure on the defense. It gives them far more open shots than before. This past season, he was not around the rim as much as you guys would think. He was actually settling for a lot of post fadeaways, a lot of 3-point shots. And the problem with that when it comes to a player of his caliber is that diminishes the gravity of your offense that can create so much for players like Austin Reeves. Like there's a reason why I know it was fantastic to see in the playoffs, but there's a reason why Austin Reeves was able to create his own shot with minimal help from LeBron. Like LeBron just gave Austin Reeves the ball and Austin Reeves just went to work. It was because Austin Reeves was doing his he didn't have like the LeBron gravity that he once had that allowed him to, that would allow him to get those open shots to just literally spot up and shoot. No, LeBron could not get off on his own. So he passed the ball to Austin Reeves, and although he still had gravity to have his defenders still face guard him, and Austin Reeves could be able to go one-on-one, that Austin Reeves still had to create on his own. Same thing with a player like Dennis Schroeder, Lonnie Walker to a certain extent, Russell Westbrook, even though Russell Westbrook can't shoot like those players that I just mentioned. So it sort of, it didn't really do much for him either. But that being said, though, that's where LeBron's struggle is offensively, and then defensively, I think he's taken another drop. Again, his injury could play a role in it, but it just seemed like he was missing a lot of reads, or he wasn't able to get to those reads as far as like off ball roaming, or even being involved in pick and rolls. He was missing a lot of like a lot of the reads that got his man to the rim that he once would be able to like react to just like that. So, and you could also attribute it to OH. I attribute it to both. I think it's like a 50-50. But yeah, that is my top 10. Honorable mentions to shout out to Jimmy Butler, shout out to Damian Lillard. I think that those two, and Donovan Mitchell and SGA, shout out to those guys. Those guys, they're routinely putting themselves in the conversation for being top 10. It's just the players that at the time, the league is in very good hands because the league has so many players that like any given year you could swap out as like a top 5 player. And so that's my soliloquy on it. Daryl, I'll let you go. I'll be right back. Okay.
For me right now with my top 10, Zeno, what's up, man? What's up? So it's me for right now with my top 10. Number 1, I got the Joker. To me personally, the Joker's game is just very smooth. Like, yes, he is not the greatest defender, but he has potential to work on it. But as we've seen offensively, how for his size, he's able to move, how he's able to, his passing ability is tremendous. His scoring ability is like beyond crazy. We've seen him be able to score inside with ease, outside with ease against any defender, smaller or even bigger than him. And he just makes it look so effortless. And that is like one of the greatest things I like about his game, because it's like it looks like he doesn't even try hard when he plays. But we know obviously he is, but he just has that smooth of a game. And I just like that about Joker. I used to hate it because how slow he was, but when you look back at it, I guess the saying they say slow and steady wins the race. Well, that shit worked this season. Moving on to number 2, I got Giannis. So Giannis, we've seen what he can do. He is great at attacking the basket. Like, probably, if not one of the best, he is the best at attacking the rim in the league today. And that's why I have him at number 2. He is great on defense at protecting the rim. because of his length. One thing I probably say he needs work on is um, with Giannis, he needs to work on his shooting. So he tried fixing it last season, wasn't the greatest, but I think he does have I think he does have tremendous ability to be a great shooter outside. Because if he can hit the three, even mid range, he's better than the Joker. Like hands down, he's better than the Joker. Number three, I have Curry. Now a lot of people still discredit Curry because of all those rings in the past, but Curry has shown that he is one of the best off the ball shooters, even though he has a point guard whose job is to move the ball. He can score off the ball. And that is something that is very underrated, especially in the game today, because there's usually no movement now today. You see all the time in the game that nobody really moves, everybody is stationary. But one thing about Curry is he's always moving, and you'll always see players from other teams respect him on that, and they say they even get tired guarding him because of how much running he does. And so I think with his mobility to run around the court, his passing ability, and he's also became an underrated defender. That's why I have him at number three. Four, I have Luca. Luca, where Luca is a very consistent player. I've never like witnessed him have an inconsistent like season. He's always been consistent. He's always shown up. One thing I will say about him though is like the thing with Luca is like when he doesn't get the calls he wants, his head gets out the game, and that's when his game falls apart. And as a professional athlete, like you always want to keep your head in the game because if you lose your head, that affects your team, especially if you're the best player out there. And the one thing I will say is with him being there, they definitely would have made the playoffs. Now, since that when Kyrie Irving joined the team, they missed out. Everyone's going to blame Kyrie. I mean, I get it, but at the same time, we gotta understand like it's Luka's team, and it's gotta be him that makes the shots. So I'll still have Luka at four. Number five, I'll have AD. Now, a lot of y'all are probably gonna say that's pretty high for me to have Anthony Davis at number five, but if you look at it for his size as a center, I don't care if he wants to be a power forward as a center. He can score inside and out. And when he's healthy, he is a dominant player because he can bring the ball up. He can pretty much do everything that I said about Luka. But because I have him that low because of his history of injuries, because he can't stay consistently healthy throughout the season. And if he has a healthy season, he is literally going to be the X factor for the Lakers to go to the championship if they want to win. Number six, I have Joel Embiid, the 2023 MVP. Joel Embiid, to me, he did deserve the MVP. He's a great center, but the problems with Joel Embiid that I feel like he needs to work on is for his size, he could dominate in the paint, but for some reason he just has this thing where he feels like he has to play the high post, and that's just not his game. I don't think with him being in the high post for 80% of his play on offense, that's not going to help Philly. I think what's going to help Philly is him down the block, because we've seen it in the past when you look at in the early 2000s, we had Shaq playing in down low in the post, how dominant the Lakers were with him there. And I think Philly could have that same success with Embiid with his size for him playing down low in the post, because he genuinely is a great center. But like I said, the same thing with Luka is like he gets lazy sometimes, and when his head is not in it, he is not the best player out on the court. And that's a terrible thing, especially if Philly is on the verge of him being the only superstar and losing James Harden for this upcoming season. Like he needs to be able to do more. He's got to be able to stay healthy. And that's pretty much to sum it up about Joel Embiid. and he's got to play. And he's got to play. That's the biggest thing. If he plays, Philly could be a great team. At 7, I have Tatum. So for me, why I have Tatum so low is because he's very inconsistent. Like he has games where he dominates, and then there's games where he doesn't show up. And I'll say, for example, um, in this past season against Philly, yeah, even though they won that series, but that series should have never went to 7 games. That series, if I'm quite honestly with you, should have at least been a 5 or 6 game series because they should have won game 1, and that should have pretty much been the start of ending that series in 5. But they let James Harden get hot, and he was very lackadaisical on defense. And then even the game 6 that Philly should have won, he did not show up until the last 30 seconds of the game, which was which honestly was kind of sad because it's like, as the face of the franchise, you guys show up in like the big moves for a whole game. We can't have you can't wait until the end of the game to finally say, all right, I'm gonna show up. Now I will say he showed up at the right time, but that's not always going to happen every game. And that's a problem I have with Tatum sometimes. It's like I want a consistent player where he comes out and dominates every game, not just show up, play only like he shows up for like the first few games and then one day has a terrible game. And I mean, there's so many other examples I can bring up about him being inconsistent. But because I know Zeno's got his top 10, he's got to say, I'm gonna move on to the list. So 8, I have Booker. Now I have Booker low too because Booker he has the potential to be one of the best shooting guards in the league, and he's a great offensive player, but defensively he's not for me one of the best defenders as a shooting guard. Um, we saw that throughout his career, he really didn't have much help, obviously, but we saw how he could score. But defensively, if Phoenix wants to be, you know, going back to the championship with the team they have, he's gotta at least be second team defense. He can't like I would love for him to be first team defense, but he's got to make a defensive team and show why he's a great defender if Phoenix wants to be up there and to win a championship. Like that's all I have to say pretty much about them. Uh, Number 9, I I have LeBron. I got King James. Now, for casual fans who say, "Oh, like, why would you have LeBron so low?" Here's the reason why. LeBron, yes, he is the greatest of all time right now. It's the highest scorer in NBA history. Yes, I got it. But this past season, even as a Lakers fan, it was very frustrating to see him with the injuries and even him be very inconsistent. And I'm not saying he was, it was like a purposely not being inconsistent, but he's just getting at the point in his age where he's out of his prime and he can't go 100% every single game like everybody wants. So we're not going to be able to see him do the same things that he did in his early years in Cleveland and in Miami, where he could just take over a game in the second half. He still is going to struggle, but that's the whole reason why I said earlier I had AD up in the fifth spot because AD is that X factor that's going to help the Lakers get there. And even also with the help that the Lakers picked up for LeBron to get him another ring, I think that is going to truly help out his career and his resume. So that's what I have about LeBron. And then at number 10, I got KD. KD he's a special player, and he's out. He's also another player who is out of his prime. And in order for like KD to be up higher in my top 10 next year, is he's got to, and don't stress this enough. We gotta see him dominate, like with this team in Phoenix. They have a super team this year, but if it comes to a game where Beal and Booker have terrible games, he's got to show up. He he can't come and rely on them to take over games. He's got to be the man over there like that. I can't like he's got to play defense. He's got to play the forward position. He's got to be the power forward. So yeah, that position is different for him, but he's got to learn how to take control of that role and play it at the highest level if Phoenix wants to make it to the championship. So, in the honorable mentions, I got, of course, number 11, Jimmy Butler, Donovan Mitchell, Damian Lillard. Those three players, of course, they could be in the top 10 easily if I wanted to, but, that's my top 10.
All right, so let's go over it one more time. So, number one, you have.
I got the Joker at number 1.
All right. And number 2, you have
Giannis.
All right. At number 3,
Curry.
All right. At number 4,
Luka.
All right. Number 5,
Joel Embiid.
I
got Joel Embiid and AD at 5.
Oh, okay. I was about to say. And then you have.
I have Joel Embiid at 6.
Okay. And then you have 7.
Tatum.
All right. 8.
I got Booker.
Wait, so why was you saying I was gonna hate your list? Because it sounds like you have mine.
Because I'm gonna be honest with you, when I first made the list, I originally had Jimmy Butler at 8, and then I was like, and then as soon as you started your list saying Giannis was number 1, I was looking at my list again, and I was like, I think I have Jimmy Butler way too high. I think I'm giving him way too much credit than he deserves right now.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so I made the switch.
I think the only person on the panel that really just like gives Jimmy a little too much love is Zeno. That's about it. Shout out Zeno. Shout out Zeno in the chat, by the way.
Shout out, man. And trust me, I'm a Jimmy Butler fan because I like his style of play, of how he's able to just, if you haven't realized it, honestly, Jimmy Butler has every team he's been traded to, they've been to the playoffs.
Yeah, which is why I give him credit. I give him credit for being, a model of consistency whenever he is on the court. Like he's not like this past year, he wasn't injured as much, and every time he was on the court, you felt his impact in some way, shape, or form. The problem that I have with Jimmy is Jimmy's just not as good as these players that we're mentioning. Like even in Devin Booker's case, like I think he's a better defender. Playmaking, I think that they're on the same level, and the versatility of scoring, I don't think should really be a question between him and Devin Booker. I understand that like his efficiency in like certain games in the postseason is like phenomenal, but in the grand scheme of things, like in the totality of a series, Devin Booker just maintains that same level of consistency on the offensive end. Whereas Jimmy just does not. He falls off efficiency wise. But that's neither here nor there. And then my top 10 again is Giannis.
I don't think we finished mine, did we?
Huh?
We finished listing my top 10, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you got LeBron at 9 and then you got KD at 10.
Yeah.
And then I have Giannis at 1, Jokic is 2. I have Steph at 3. I have Luka at 4. I have Joel Embiid at 5. I have AD at 6. Tatum at 7. Devin Booker at 8. KD at 9. LeBron at 10. So relatively similar. I think the only difference that we have is between Jokic and Giannis and AD and Embiid. But those are two of the areas where like I admit, like, if you told me one was better than the other, I wouldn't give you too much of a pushback. All right, so we're gonna move on to the next part of the show, and we're gonna talk about the first team of today, and that is going to be the Eastern Conference Finals champions, Miami Heat. So, talking a little bit about the Miami Heat this earlier this week. We got a little bit more in depth with Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo's level of impact for this team. And we ultimately ended up agreeing that this is Eric Spoelstra's doing for a large part of the Miami Heat's success, really over the past like 4 or 5 years. Because a lot of the times that we watch this team, they're able to be in positions that they otherwise had no business being in, given like the roster construction, the the um, the inconsistencies of the players that's like at the helm of them, like the Josh Richardson phase or the Dion Waiters phase. Um, a lot of the times, they have no business being like in the playoffs or in the playoff hunt. And Eric Spoelstra is able to produce like max level like offense and defensive production from this unit each and every time. And then this season comes by, and I don't think people don't you don't remember. People have a lack of memory. The Miami Heat, like earlier this season, was so bad we just chucked them out of the playoffs. Like when people were talking about the postseason, a lot of the people were talking about the Bucks, the Sixers, the Celtics. Hell, we were even talking about the New York Knicks doing something before we got to the Miami Heat. And then we come around the last stretch, right? Everybody starts getting back healthy. Sorry, I got a text. The Miami Heat finally started to get back healthy. Although they missed out on I forget the player that got hurt, but they made up with it because they signed Kevin Love on a minimum. And then they get into the which gave them the stretch big that they needed. And then they get to the play-in and they go up against the Atlanta Hawks and they completely shit the bed. Like Trae Young and the Hawks did whatever they wanted to that team whenever they wanted to. And I mean that like that is not hyperbolic. You can go back and watch that game. The Atlanta Hawks completely did whatever they wanted to. They were completely throwing like ridiculous lobs to Clint Capella and Bam and them. Just they couldn't do anything about it. But then they go up against the Chicago Bulls and they barely squeaked that one out. Because DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine yet again showed why in higher leverage moments you do not want them to be the best players on the team. I think I can agree in saying that, right, Daryl? But then they finally get into the postseason and they go up against the Milwaukee Bucks. And me being a Milwaukee Bucks fan, I was nervous as hell. The reason I was nervous as hell is because Giannis does not have the greatest track record when going up against elite defenses, let alone elite defenders like Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. And especially when they're being like manned, not manned, but they're being controlled by the best head coach in the world in Eric Spoelstra. Which, side note, why is Steve Kerr the head coach for Team USA? Daryl, I really want to know that. I think I truly feel like Eric Spoelstra should have something to say about that, given his track record. But that's neither here nor there. So, they end up going against the Milwaukee Bucks, and they completely like rough run shot on them. Jimmy Butler was able to get whatever he wanted against arguably the best defender in the world, and not the best defender in the world, but the best guard defender in the world, and Drew Holiday. He was able to get whatever he wanted against Chris Middleton. He was able to get whatever he wanted against whenever Giannis got faced with him, which was very rarely, which is also a concern about Giannis. But and he was able to get to the rim relatively consistently, given the spacing that they were able to get, adding an acquisition like Kevin Love. But in the while going through like that success against the Milwaukee Bucks, they lost a key piece in Tyler Hero, who has been very, very important to them throughout this entire like process, because he has been like the more or less the more consistent scorer between all of the guys since the moment he entered the league. And like that says a lot, given like that they have Jimmy Butler on their team. But they get that, and yet they're still dominating the Milwaukee Bucks, specifically in closing time moments. So the last 2 minutes of the games that they beat the Milwaukee Bucks, Eric Spoelstra did something very, very uniquely where he was able to he was putting Kyle Lowry at the front line of the full court press. He would have Jimmy Butler manning like safety, like Jimmy Butler and Caleb Martin manning. Give me 1 second. Jimmy Butler and Caleb Martin manning manning the half court set, and then he also had I'm sorry, my mind's going blank. And then he also had Bam Adebayo sitting at the front line of protecting the rim in case they got past all of that. The way he was doing it was he was basically side arming Drew Holiday, right? Forcing him to catch the ball with like one hand often, and then forcing him to be on the go. But as soon as Drew Holiday would get on the go, he would be trapped, which would force him to pass it to a player that has lesser dribbling ability, and like, let's say like a Giannis or Chris Middleton, who, like, as much as like I give them credit for being skilled players, dribbling is just not in their package. And he would basically force them to be the ball handlers of the team. And they ended up being relatively successful. So then continue out the playoffs, they sort of did more or less like they would do tricky schemes defensively that would force teams to do things that they otherwise would not do. And so what was beautiful about it was whether you got production like the all-star or the all-NBA level production from, like, let's say Jimmy Butler or Bam Adebayo, didn't really matter, because you were getting production offensively collectively in small increments, which got you able to squeeze out a lot of wins. And then defensively, they were so in sync, they were so locked in that they were basically troubling defenses that were having like great offensive productions on anybody else. And then obviously they go up against they go into the NBA Finals, and they go up against the best offense by far in the NBA, and they get completely completely overmatched. Let's put that. They were overmatched. They're way over their head. And so that leads me into this offseason where we're looking at Jimmy, and we're looking at Bam, and we're looking at Victor Oladipo and Kyle Lowry and Eric Spoelstra, and we're wondering if the 8th-seeded team went from being on the brink of elimination in the play-in tournament all the way to the NBA Finals, what is next for these guys? So I'm gonna periodically run on like some of their some of the things that they've done and what they can do even further. But I'm pretty sure you guys don't want to hear me the whole podcast, so we're gonna pass it on to Daryl to be able to give a little bit of a look into his opinion on what you think of the Miami Heat's offseason thus far. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess it's just me.
All right, well, I'm going to go, but I think one of the biggest pieces for Miami that actually hurt them was losing Gabe Vincent in free agency to the Lakers. Gabe Vincent played.
Yep. I can't hear you. There you are.
Okay, you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, so one of the biggest things that was big was them losing Vincent because he played a huge part in their postseason. Which I think if he stayed one more year, they definitely would not have to worry about being like coming out from the play-in. I think they would be like in at least like the top 5, 6. Bless you.
Thank you.
And
I don't know why you're going in and out. Okay.
you can hear me.
I can hear you now.
I don't know why it's going in and out. Um, I'm in the hotel room, so that's probably why. So I'm not the Wi-Fi here is not the greatest. Uh, But going on, some other additions that I think are going to be good for them is the rookie they ended up drafting that we saw during summer league. Was it Jacquez Jr.? I think he's going to play a tremendous role for them with Gabe Vincent being out. He's a lot more athletic, and especially being a younger player and being under Spoelstra with the assistance of Jimmy Butler, he's going to have a tremendous career over there with being professional and with his scoring ability that we saw during summer league of how he was able to score inside and outside, especially inside at his size, because being a small guard, it looked by the looks of it, it looked like he wasn't even going to be in the league that long. But when we actually saw him play during summer league, there was a lot of flashes that he was going to have a promising career in this league, especially for Miami. Another addition.
You broke up, bro. Okay. While he's getting that straight. So, as far as the offseason goes for the Miami Heat, like he spoke a little bit earlier, they lost out on Gabe Vincent, who was their starting point guard for this entire run that they made to the NBA Finals. They also missed out on Max Strus. Max Strus went to the Cleveland Cavaliers. They lost out on Udonis Haslem as well. Udonis Haslem retired. So I wouldn't even say they missed out on him. He just retired, right? And then while doing that, they were also able to re-sign. They were able to sign players like Thomas Bryant and bring back players like Josh Richardson back to the Miami Heat culture, which I think they produced Josh Richardson's best defensive and offensive season that I could think of his career. I might be wrong on that. I don't know too many Josh Richardson fans, but if you're a Josh Richardson fan, please let me know. Right?
I used to be.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but I used to be.
Is the Miami Heat was was the Miami Heat Josh Richardson's best seasons? Or no?
You said for Josh Richardson was when he was in Miami, was that his best season?
Yes.
Um, yeah, when he was in Miami and for the small stint he had in Philly, it was pretty good. That's when he was in Philly. That's when I saw him a little bit, but I think his better years was when he first was in Miami. But I think that's just like the Heat culture of having Eric Spoelstra there, that you can play at the highest level.
I agree. I agree. They were also able to retain Kevin Love on a multi-year contract. They, as I spoke to earlier, they were able to sign him during through the buyout market, and they were able to sign him to a minimum to join the team. And so now they were able to lock him in for a multi-year deal. They traded Victor Oladipo, 2029 second round pick, 2030 second round pick, I believe. To the Oklahoma City Thunder in exchange for cash and some other stuff. And then recently they signed I think Caleb Daniels, Justin Champagnie or something like that.
Justin Champagnie was the guy that you remember, the guard from San Antonio during the summer league.
Yeah,
yeah, that's him. San Antonio didn't sign him, so Miami picked him up.
Okay. So they signed like a bunch of like I want to say I wouldn't say like role players, but they're not known yet. But the specialty with Miami is they're known for making players that otherwise is not known be known. So we'll see how that turns out. But as far as like the transaction that they made outside of signing Thomas Bryant, Josh Richardson, and Kevin Love, they haven't done much. They actually lost more impactful players. As much as I love Kevin Love, he's a little bit past his years, whereas Gabe Vincent had just produced like one of his best seasons for you. Max Strus had just produced one of his better like defensive like productions under Eric Spoelstra. And so you missing out on those players. Also, they missed out on Cody Zeller. Which I'm not crying about that, but just Miami Heat fans might love him. And so
I don't think Miami Heat fans knew he was on the team.
Type shit. Facts. But that being said, though, when I'm looking at this Miami Heat's like off season, I'm gonna be quite honest with you, bro. It ain't moving me. It's not and the reason why it's not moving me is because a lot. If you think about it, when Tyler Hero went down for that postseason run, right? Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, Duncan Robinson was like the names that were like associated with Jimmy and Bam, to being able to like build like a competent enough offense and defense even to be able to make that run. But you just you just lost Gabe Vincent, right? You lost Max Strus, right? So you're left with Jimmy, an agent star, Bam, who does not show he hasn't shown me any signs of him developing to be that consistent offensive player, right? And
right.
then and the players backing them up is Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson, two bad to terrible defenders that is going to make it even harder for Jimmy and Bam to have energy on the offensive end, because now they're going to have to figure out a way. Them two along with Eric Spencer are going to have to figure out a way for them to man a near positive to middle of the pack defense. And so my question is, how good is Jimmy to you? Or how good is the pair of Jimmy and Bam to you to go alongside Eric Spoelstra to make this team still a championship contender?
Honestly, to me, I think this might be the last year we see of Bam Adebayo if we don't see any improvement from him. Jimmy Butler, he's still going to be with the Miami Heat, but Bam, I think if we don't see any improvement this postseason, if they make the postseason,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to be seeing a new center take over, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of other bigs that feel like they have a they deserve the opportunity to come in that can help that Miami team, which is why I think they also brought in Thomas Bryant. Now Thomas Bryant, I'm gonna be honest, I never liked Thomas Bryant when he was in Washington and when he was a Laker, but being realistic here, I think this might be Bam's last year if he does not live up to the expectations we want from him.
I disagree. I think.
Really?
Yeah, I disagree because as even if Bam does not um, progress to being the guy on the team, that's still a very valuable like piece of your team. Like you can't replace a player that is like his versatility defensively, his ability to create opportunities for others. Like you can't just replace that. Like you can't. And even his ability every now and again to be a scoring threat. Like you can't you know what I'm saying? Like you can't switch that out with just anybody. So I guess my question then would be, who do you switch them out with?
I mean, to me personally, uh, shoot, what's his name? Uh, who's? Oh, I say you can honestly make the move, and you probably gonna say I'm crazy for this, and probably say nope, this like that's terrible. I think Wiseman playing in Miami actually wouldn't be bad.
Yeah, yeah, you're
I
crazy.
know.
Yeah, you're fucking nuts. You are nuts, dude.
I'm
You
looking at.
crazy. What? Wiseman? That's the name you think of?
They
You got
got
a you got a player in Bam he is a fantastic play. He is a fantastic defender. He is a good to great playmaker. He is a good to great rebounder for his size. And as a scorer, he leaves some to be desired, but he's still a quality scorer. And you think James Wiseman?
But listen to me though. James Wiseman hasn't really been set up for success in this league, and he's dealt with so many injuries. That's how I'm looking at it.
What do you, from what you've seen thus far? Because this league is a
I
what
think
have you done
I,
for me lately league.
I think
What
he's
has
had.
James Wiseman done?
I think he's
That,
shown. I think he's shown potential when he finally got to Detroit. That
no, he
okay,
didn't. No, he didn't. I was watching Detroit games. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. That fraud there has like he has picked me written all over his face. He does things. The thing that makes Miami so spectacular is the fact that everybody that's on the Miami Heat, they move with an intent for team success. It does not matter about the individual success, that will come later, right? Bam in Golden State and in Detroit. You want to know what he exuded with his energy?
what?
Get me the ball. Fuck everybody else. Give me the ball. And when he got the ball, he did nothing with it. But he wanted the ball again and again and again. And that's the problem. That's like,
Hold on. I want you to understand. You just said Bam. You know what Bam did in Golden State and Detroit. You
yo,
never said.
Dev. Oh shit, Dev just left. Dev joined and then left.
But I know you're talking about Wiseman, even though you said Bam.
No. I said Wiseman.
No, you said Bam, but
Oh, I did. Oh no. I meant to say about Wiseman. I meant to say Wiseman. Yeah, Wiseman comes in. Wiseman, like from the moment he's entered the league until now, he has been anxious for him to be the guy, even though he's done nothing to deserve the guy treatment. And partially, I think that this is also like I think this is slowly like a onus that like some of the head coaches he's coming across needs like they have to do a better job of explaining to some of these players. Some of these players like yeah you're dealt like shitty cards and you're not going to be the guy even though you may have the build and the skill set, even though I don't think James Harden has the skill set to be the guy. But this is a general statement. Like some guys just have to understand that it's better for the team if you're a role guy or you're not the focal point of the offense, but you're more of a focal point on the defensive end, so that they could be better players as a whole. Like James Wiseman has the build where he should be a rim protecting monster, right? Like at 7'1" with that wingspan, that build, right? He should be hard to push off the block. He should be very capable of deflecting a lot of shots, and yet he is terrible at the rim. He is terrible rim protecting. He is soft as baby shit when guarding in the post. On a pick and roll, don't even start it with him. He is the worst big man when it comes to guarding in the post, which is it's fucking crazy. And then on the offensive end, he wants to catch it in the post for him to face up and shoot fadeaways and stuff like that. Even though he has the build for him. Don't get me started. Don't get me started. James Harden doesn't even play for the Miami Heat.
So would you say if any moves that Miami did, of course you say keep out of Bayou, but would you have made that move of instead of taking Thomas Bryant, take Wiseman, or
No.
you would still stick with Bryant?
I would, because at least in Thomas Bryant's case, like he knows his role. He may want a larger role, which is why he left the Lakers, but he knows his role, especially now. Like he knows his role.
Yeah, he got a ring, so I think that's why he knows his role.
Probably.
You know every player once they finally get that ring, then whatever team they join, they're like, you know what, I'll accept any role you give me. I already got my ring. I'm good.
Exactly. I guess my thought process when it comes to the Heat, I feel like they need to look to I think they need to look to hit the reset button like soon. The reason for it is if you look at this roster construction, right? You look at the Miami Heat's roster, right? You have let me see. You have Bam Adebayo, you have Tyler Hero, you have Jimmy Butler, you have Kyle Lowry, due for $29 million. You have Duncan Robinson, you have Caleb Martin, you have Kevin Love, you have Josh Richardson, Thomas Bryant, Nikola Jovic. Let's see. Any other like notable names? No, that's about it. So you have those players, right? The problem that I'm having when it comes to this roster is I don't see any type of flexibility for you to make a run for an actual player, which leads me to this trade that's been roaming around for this past offseason about the Damian Lillard trade, the Damian Lillard sweepstakes. It is no secret that the Portland Trail Blazers have received a request from Damian Lillard to trade them since they drafted Scoot Henderson. And so he's been looking to specifically go to the Miami Heat. The problem is the Miami Heat has absolutely nothing to offer the Portland Trail Blazers. Like, I mean, nothing that would not gut them already. Like, think about this. For you to get Dame, you would need to package Kyle Lowry along with probably Tyler Hero and that's not even it. You probably have to give up like a shit ton of picks, and that would gut your first of all, that would gut your point guard and shooting guard spot. You would need to find production elsewhere out of there. My thought process is you'll probably make Caleb Martin a 2 and put Dame at the 1. But that wouldn't work too well because I don't think Caleb Martin is an actual shooter. So then you would basically have Dame as the only shooter on the roster. So like and then on top of that, even if you let's say you didn't trade Kyle Lowry or Tyler Hero. Let's say you traded one of them and you traded a shit ton of role players. It's still a shit ton of role players, dude. Like that's your bench. So you're losing out on your bench and a key piece. A key piece of your offensive roster, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I don't like the position that they're in, and I think that a team that's at the helm of Jimmy and Bam equals for mediocre to seasons like this where they overachieve, but ultimately there's no way that they're going to win the championship. Because there was never a moment in this during this season, and that even includes when they actually made it to the NBA Finals, where I thought to myself, they're winning the NBA championship. When they made it to the NBA Finals, I said, good for them. Denver has the championship on lock.
I think everybody and their mama said that.
Exactly. So
except for the city of Miami.
Yeah, except for Heat fans. So, like, I'm looking at this roster, and I don't think that they're going to make it to the NBA Finals again. Although I could be wrong. They've been doing it. They've been finding ways to do it because they have the best head coach in the world, Eric Spoelstra. And I will keep on saying that until people start to re-utter it. But
I say they got the best. I said they got one of the best GMs and Pat Riley. I think that's where it comes from.
Facts. That's facts. That is facts. That is. But yeah, I look at this roster and Kyle Lowry is 37 years old, right? Jimmy Butler is 34, right? Duncan Robinson is 29. Caleb Martin is 28. Kevin Love is 35. Josh Richardson is 30. Like those are the players that are like key pieces to this roster. The only young players that are key pieces is Bam, who's 26, Tyler Hero, who's 24, and that's it. And I guess if you want to make Thomas Bryant a key piece, he's 26. But like that's what we're dealing with here, guys. Like we're dealing with an aging roster that is repeatedly maximizing their potential. Like, and it's amazing. It's amazing what they've done. They have, in my eyes, whether you win a championship or not, I think the Miami Heat have inscribed themselves in NBA history as as a team that has defeated the odds time and time again. You write them off, they prove you wrong, et cetera, right? And I got tremendous love for them. But the ultimate goal when you're a franchise, especially when you're the GM, is to win a championship. And you're not going to win a championship at this point in everybody's career where Jimmy is on the way to declining. Kyle Lowry has already declined. Kevin Love has already declined. Duncan Robinson he's a shooter. Like that's all he is. So you don't have like that star that's going to have you contending for championships for you to come. And it's just going to be a never-ending cycle of them continuously trying to beat the odds, but never truly reaching the goal that is truly at hand. Do you agree?
I think the one thing about them is if they really truly believe they want Dame Lillard, which since it hasn't seemed like they've made a true effort into it. I think the one thing that they're gonna have to do, if they want it, even though they don't have like players that they can give up, I'm pretty sure they probably can give up. They may say, okay, we'll give up Lowry, and let's say they say we'll give up Lowry and probably like a few first round picks, and I say like first round picks because I mean Dame is worth that, and we'll give y'all our few first round picks for the next few couple of years to get Dame. Now, if they, I think that's something Miami probably would truly do if they truly want him. But if anything, it's not even going to be worth that deal for either team. So he might as well just go to a team like Philly, who actually needs something over there.
Facts, facts. I'm with you. I'm with you. So we're gonna finish talking about the Miami Heat with this one question that I'll ask you. What is the best case scenario for the Miami Heat?
Best case scenario for them?
Mhm.
Shoot, best case scenario is if every top team in the East goes ahead and just has a crappy season. That's the best case scenario for them because I really don't. I really feel like Miami is going to be in the same situation they were this past year. If those teams like um, Boston,
Keep talking. I'll be right back. Okay.
all right, those teams like Boston, Philly, those top teams in the East that we know, like Milwaukee, if they show out, then they will have they will have the opportunity to do good in the. Yeah, let me correct it. If those teams show up in the East, Miami has no chance. But if those teams struggle, we're going to see Miami creep their way up to the top. Now, I will say this past, you guys are going to say this last postseason, how come Miami went to the top? It's because that Jimmy Butler effect. When Jimmy Butler gets hot and going, he can do damage. But to me, as far as being like a playmaker, we saw what happened towards the end of that series against Boston, and we saw what happened in the finals. He deferred a lot once his shot wasn't going. Once he realized, dang, I'm having an off game, it's like he lost his confidence real quick, and we saw how quickly Miami struggled. So I think the biggest thing for Miami is they need him to have his confidence if they ever feel like they can make another run. But I really don't see them making another run, like another historical run like they did this past season. Uh, but other than that, we are going to be moving on since we got 30 minutes left. We're going to be moving on to talking about the NBA champs of the 23 season, the Denver Nuggets. So maybe y'all know Denver, they won the this past season, the 2022-23 season with Nikola Jokic, the Joker, and they had a tremendous season. A lot of people like to argue that the Joker should deserve MVP and Joel Embiid didn't. I just have to throw it out there since Zeno's right here, but uh, to be quite frankly, some of the moves that Denver has actually made this season.
All right. I'm back. I'm back.
All right, so we're moving on right now to talking about the Denver Nuggets. Um, some of the moves that we saw this offseason with the Denver Nuggets, and I want to say is quite honestly like a big piece. That was a big piece in there in them winning the championship was the losing of Bruce Brown Jr. to the Pacers. A lot of people are going to say, well, he wasn't a scorer like that. But to me personally, his energy actually helped that team out. And without that energy, every team that wins a championship always has an energizer bunny. And with him not there anymore, who are they going to depend on to do all the dirty work? That's going to go for the loose balls, play defense 110% of the time, get rebounds. Like who are they going to like? Who's going to be that energizer bunny that takes his spot? Because I think he played a tremendous role in their playoffs. Because he definitely gave my Lakers like trouble. I'll admit it.
Man, you're not understanding. It's Christian Brown, bro. It's Christian Brown, dog.
Man, whatever. It's Bruce. Bruce Brown's the reason. Anybody worry about Christian Brown? um,
He said.
he was all right. He was all right. Um, Also, I mean, the other people they lost, Thomas Bryant, like we reiterated earlier, Jeff Green, Ish Smith. I mean, they didn't really play big parts on the team, but I mean, they're still key players. Uh,
You broke up, gang.
like going to be helpful for that team. It's like they still got the same team. The only person they really lost was Bruce Brown. But
I want to let you guys know. The production, the not forget the production, the impact that Bruce Brown had on the roster, Christian Brown he cannot replicate. I want to let you. I hope you guys understand that. Like, fair enough, Christian. Like Bruce Brown, statistically, the only reason why he produced more than Christian Brown was because he was on the floor more. So fair enough to you guys if that's your point. But when Bruce Brown was on the floor, his impact had to do with a lot of the versatility of what he was able to allow a player in, let's say, a Jamal Murray or a Jokic to be able to do. Or dare I even say Aaron Gordon. He allowed Aaron Gordon to be able to roam furthermore because he was being far more intense on the off-ball side as the guard. So he was in the passing lanes far more often. I know that you guys have seen the highlights. Some of you guys like to watch highlights. I know you guys have seen some of the highlights where going up against the Minnesota Timberwolves or going up against the Phoenix Suns, Bruce Brown made himself involved in the defense, in the offensive schemes of other teams by coming around like behind players or snatching the ball while it's being passed to a near player and getting easy buckets. That is something that Bruce Brown was able to bring that Christian Brown just cannot. Christian Brown is more of a point of attack defender. I'm in the stream. He was able to. I'm sorry, I got put off track.
you go.
Yeah, he was able to impact the defensive end from ways that Christian Brown just can't. Christian Brown is more of a on ball defender. He's not great at it, but he's good. He's good at it. Not to take anything away from him. He's good at defending on ball, but as far as like off ball, he's not. That's not really his strong suit. Whereas that is exactly what Bruce Brown does. Bruce Brown is spectacular in his own right in that sense. Also grabbing offensive boards and grabbing defensive boards and being able to push the ball. It's something that he was great at. He was phenomenal at. Although the stats won't tell it. The 4.2 he got in the regular season, or the 4 he got in the playoffs. Like, that does not describe how good of a rebounder that he was for the Denver Nuggets, because he was able to what he was able to do was he was able to seal a lot of the players that otherwise would be able to like crash the boards. Like, let's say when they went up against Phoenix, Devin Booker was actually like doing a great job when covered by Jamal Murray at being able to get to the ball and be able to create second opportunities for himself or for KD. And what Bruce Brown was able to do was when he was put on to Devin Booker, he was able to, if not anything, be able to make it difficult for Devin Booker to create an avenue for him to be able to create the offensive board that could give them a second chance to deal in the Denver Nuggets. So those minor winning plays are not going to pop up statistically, and it on face value, it can come off to you as if, oh well, He averaged 11.5 points per game on the same efficiency as Christian Brown. The only difference is he had more opportunity playing like 13 more minutes than Christian Brown. And to that point, statistically, okay, sure, whatever. But the impact on the floor, that is not viewed on the statistical stat sheet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Christian Brown is not touching Bruce Brown. Not yet. It may happen. He may develop. Like, cool. But I was watching Denver Nuggets games. There was no time where I looked at Christian Brown's level of impact or his ability, like his potential, the glimpses that he showed, and thought to myself that he could be able to do what Bruce Brown was doing for them. He didn't because Bruce Brown was doing the same things he did for Denver. He was doing in Brooklyn for a far worse defensive unit. He was able to impact that defensive unit whenever he was on the floor. Whereas Christian Brown, he got onto the floor, and outside of the Phoenix series, he didn't impact the team as much as other people would like to look. And now it's fantastic as a rookie being able to guard KD successfully. Like, kudos to you. But Bruce Brown was doing like far more versatile things that Christian Brown just cannot do for them. So that being said, though, that was the biggest loss that they took this offseason, losing out on Bruce Brown. And I still got them as the title favorites. I still have them as the title favorites because I don't know why people are sleeping on this thought process. And by the way, they signed Justin Holiday as a free agency move. I think he averaged like 9 points on like bad efficiency. So no bad efficiency outside of the 3-point line. I think he was like mid or good, slightly good, right? So
Go ahead.
What
I was gonna say. I think people sleep on Denver so much is because
No. Let me finish.
Yeah. Go ahead before I say
you were about to say they sleep on Denver. I don't think they sleep on Denver as a unit. I don't know why people sleep on Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray's tandem.
It's because they play. The reason why they sleep on their tandem is because their playing style. They play the way the game has always been meant to be played at a fundamental level. It's just that because we're so used to now this game being played at what they say a higher level, because it's a lot more flashier, it's a lot faster. And like I said during my top 10 about Nikola Jokic, slow and steady wins the race, which clearly worked for him to win a championship. But him and Murray play the game at a fundamental level, which throws people off and makes people upset because they're not flashy and they're still getting the job done. They're like freaking Tim Duncan and Tony Parker and them when they were with the Spurs. That's the best example I can give you of how their playing style is.
I'm with you. I guess. Hold on.
Hey, what's up? Hello.
I'm with you. What?
Zeno.
Hello.
Oh, fuck him.
Wow.
And that's fine. That's fine. The point that you made. The point that you made. But this is my large problem. So the last time I spoke about this with I think it was Low and them when we were on Players Choice, and they were talking about the best duo, and people were talking about LeBron and AD and KD and D-Book, and they just and these guys just completely scoffed at Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. This is what bothers me about this, because I don't think people understand when we're talking about duos, it is not a one-on-one session between each side. Like, it's not Jokic versus KD and then Jamal Murray versus Devin Booker. That is stupidity at its finest. When we're talking about tandems, we're talking about, one, their talent when combined and how well they can coexist. And when we're looking at players like AD and LeBron, although yes, they are fantastic defensively, the AD's covering that ground. But offensively, like, it's no secret, the Lakers are massively inconsistent offensively in large part due to LeBron's decline, so he can't even carry on his side of that end. Whereas you look at the Denver Nuggets, and Jokic and Jamal Murray have offenses. Oh, 1 second. Yeah, Jamal Murray and Jokic has the offense singing so seamlessly. You can put anybody on that roster, and I promise you, they will likely have like a resurgence offensively. It is like a mind-boggling to me how people don't understand how bad, or not how bad, but how inconsistent of an offensive player Aaron Gordon was, and how in a matter of a year they were able to find a niche for Aaron Gordon that made him a consistent offensive threat. Like people don't understand like the fact that him being positioned and Jokic being like a fantastic playmaker was able to create like open spots for him that otherwise he would not have. He just wouldn't. And so like I'm looking at Phoenix, and true enough, as offensive creators, Devin Booker and KD are probably the best out of like this entire conversation. But as a playmaker, it's not even a fucking discussion, dude. And defensively, D Book has taken his step up. But KD has taken such a decline, it would be laughable for you to sit there and say that either one of them match up to Jokic offensively, let alone the tandem of Jokic and Jamal Murray's creation. And so like when I'm listening, when I'm looking at this Denver crew, I'm looking at Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, who are still signed for well into like 2026, I believe. Right. And then Michael Porter Jr. is also there. That's a sharpshooter. Zeno knows about Michael Porter Jr. That's
my guy.
Yeah, that's his guy, right?
Hello, everybody.
Yo, what's going on there?
Sorry, I'm late.
So then you have you have Jokic, Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr. tied in, right? And then you have Aaron Gordon, who's still tied in, and he is like a fantastic, versatile defender. And like I just spoke about, he has gotten a niche with this Denver Nuggets offense that has created like a consistent offensive like go-to spot for him, right? Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is still here for like the next 2 years. That's your versatile perimeter defender. I think is that their point of attack defender? I believe so, right?
Him and Christian Braun.
Yeah, him and Christian Braun, right? So you have Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, you have Christian Braun. Not to mention off the bench, he didn't even get to play. Reggie Jackson still has a niche that he can hit, because we saw in Los a little bit for their offense, and so you put him in this offense, and if he can be able to get used to playing around an offensive package like Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr., he can be able to have an offensive resurgence his damn self. And then that doesn't even talk about like players that just got signed, like Justin Holiday. There's another player that got signed by them. Am I wrong? Oh no, he didn't get signed. Okay, well yeah, Justin Holiday. That could be another piece, because he had a 38% 3-point shooting season with Atlanta Hawks, and they were like as discombobulated as that team was. He comes to this team that's like flowing seamlessly. He should be getting more open shots than he ever saw. And so, like, I don't know. I'm looking at this team, and although yes, they took a step back because they lost Bruce Brown, and I value his impact. They were so much better than every other team in the NBA. A step down for them is still clearly the best team in the NBA. Anybody disagree?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. Yeah, we hear you.
Oh, yeah, I'm driving home. Yeah, I'm just driving home right now. I just got off work. I think also a player I'm very high on that roster that I don't think people know about. He was a rookie last year. His name's Peyton Watson. He has great potential. Like his defensive and slashing ability, he's very athletic. Already a good defender, one of the better defenders on a team. He's now got a lot of playing time. I think he could be a good scorer next to Jokic. He's probably not gonna have like a great one-on-one game like what's the name, Jamal Murray, but I think he could be a better scorer than like Aaron Gordon. He'll be able to create a shot a little bit better. That's the potential. He has that wing potential. I think he could be that point of attack, that next point of attack, versatile defender they got if he develops quickly. Obviously, the offensive game's going to come, especially playing next to Jokic. So I think I'm high on Peyton Watson, and I forgot who the other rookie they drafted this year. I think they can be good. So I think it's going to be Felt because Bruce Brown brought that toughness and little leadership to the Nuggets. But I still think they have that, especially with a guy like Aaron Gordon on the team, and
Jalen Pickett.
obviously people don't want to admit it, but Jokic is also very tough. People don't want to admit it, but he's a tough player as well. He's not afraid
Is-
to get scrappy or get physical as well. So
You heard me? You heard me
yeah,
there?
and again, sorry podcast, I'm late. Just got off.
No,
I didn't
Dev,
think work was gonna
Dev,
take this long.
Dev?
Dev,
Dev,
Jalen
you
Pickett.
good?
Jalen Pickett. That's the guy you're thinking of.
And
I don't.
Was it you? Because you said Peyton Watson and another player that got drafted. Either it's Jalen Pickett or it's Julian
yeah,
Strauss. Yeah,
one of those players. Also,
yeah.
analyze them. I might get on MPJ's 3-point shooting train. I was watching his highlights last night. I'm like, I think I see what Zeno means. I might hop on that train.
He just wants to hate because he likes hating. Let's keep it
Okay.
real.
All right. That's
Hey,
my.
He
that's
likes
not
it.
hating.
He,
That's
he knows. He knows. Yeah, my takes.
You
Even though it sounds
can't be late
crazy.
to the show and then sit and start talking shit. Okay?
He wow. He knows that my takes might be kind of outlandish, but when you sit down and you really pay attention to them, you realize raw. He actually is speaking facts.
No, but
right?
I'm not. All right. I'm not. How much is it? Like what's your definition of a hot take? Because I don't know. Like I don't think that's crazy to say. Though.
That he could
Like,
be
you know
he
what I'm
could
saying?
be he could be one of the best catch and shoot players we've ever seen.
Yeah.
Saying
Like, I
that
don't think
his peak is pretty much a better Klay Thompson. That's not a hot take.
that is
Yeah,
a
I don't
hot
think
take.
I don't think that's a hot take because I don't think that's crazy. One, because I'm when I look at Klay Thompson's, I look at his scope of like work, and I don't overvalue it like some people do, while still like giving it this
I'm gonna go back
proper.
in when I'm home. I'm lagging a little bit.
No, you good, Dub. You good. I give it a little bit like I get a little bit of more context like because I was watching that Golden State run and stuff like that, and so I do understand like although yeah he is an amazing 3-point shooter, like the creation wasn't there, whereas I'm looking at Michael Porter Jr. and the way that Michael Porter Jr. is coming off of these screens, like being able to shoot, and then like the level of difficulty while still shooting that efficient is like yeah, like I don't think that's crazy to say. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't think Klay was dealing with nearly the level of like he was doing like the things that Michael Porter Jr. is doing with the ball currently. And so if he did it like for like let's say like he did it for like 3 more years, I mean he's already done it for like what 3 years now. So
No, not to this level. This is his first year of being
this
this.
is not his first year. I watched.
No. I mean, this is his first year because this is the first year that you can say he was the best catch and shoot player in the league. I'm talking about this tier of score.
Last year, who was
He
better?
wasn't. I would say.
Oh no, not last year. The year before last.
I'm pretty sure he wasn't doing that at this volume like 2 seasons ago. Was he? I'm checking myself then.
Yeah. Because remember last time we talked about it, I was like, bro, low key, he has the volume for like the last 3 seasons.
Oh, you're actually right. Yeah. No. Wait, I'm looking at the wrong thing. No. I'm reading Kevin Porter Jr. My fault.
Yeah. No, the season before last, he shot 6.3. He shot 6.3,
Yes.
which is like 1 off, and he shot 44%.
Yeah. So he's done it for 2 seasons.
Yeah, that's why I was asking. Like, was it 2 or 3 seasons? Because if it was two seasons,
I still think I would want more than that because Klay Thompson has been doing that for I wouldn't say nearly a decade, but it's getting close to that. Like he was doing it since.
You want my opinion on Klay's
I get it. You're gonna say his efficiency was boosted because he playing with one of the best shooters of all time. So that's what
not what I was about to say. That's not what I was about to say. I was gonna say like him the degree of difficulty, not playing with stuff, but the degree of difficulty. Like think of it this way: whether Jokic is on the floor or not, or Jamal Murray is on the floor or not, Michael Porter Jr. is taking the same shots.
That's true.
Every way, anyway, and he makes it at that degree.
I agree.
Yeah. So
let's get back to what we was talking about because we kind of. I'm going to mute myself for now. Though.
But yeah, go ahead and give your point about it. I think I sort of explained my opinion on this. I think
what for the MPJ?
No. As far as the Denver Nuggets offseason, what they've done, what you
I'm not
think that they
necessarily
probably should
sure
have
because
done.
I feel like losing Bruce Brown is kind of painful because that was one of their POAs. Of course, they had their guard POAs. Of course, they have what's
KCP
his
and
name?
Christian Brown.
KCB and Christian Brown, and they also have Aaron Gordon for the wings. But I feel like losing that was also kind of an issue as well because he helped them in specifically the Western Conference Finals, and that was like a big part of it. Granted, he was only the fourth best player, but that was still a big part of what he was doing. Taking D'Lo out of the gate out of the series actually changed a lot. I think D'Lo being in the series would still mean that the Nuggets win, but it'd be in a harder fashion. Um, I'm just not necessarily sure. I think they're still a contending team. It's kind of hard not to because they still have their core players and they're still in their prime. And I think Murray might actually take a jump this year. That's the crazy thing. But I'm not necessarily sure how much better they're going to get this season. I think for the most part, they might be around last year, if not a little bit worse, due to losing some of their pieces.
So I got two questions for you. So
Yeah.
you spoke about Jamal Murray making a jump this year. Where do you
Might.
think? Where do you think he might make that jump?
Shot creation. I think he needs to be a better shot creator. Of course, he went amazing, and actually 3-point shooting because Loki, his 3-point shooting during the playoffs was really boosted by the open shot creations from
Yeah,
Jokic.
yeah, I
Low
agree.
key, low key. People are not
It's
paying
not even
attention to
low
that.
key. It's not low key because I think
No,
that's
because
other teams.
people don't. I don't think you realize a lot of people don't realize that. They just kind of understand that he's a good 3-point shooter and just run off with it. He is not that level of a 3-point shooter. It's because he's playing with one of the best offensive weapons in the league. No, or offensive engines ever, and that they're constantly getting him open shots, and that's why he's able to reach that stage. But yeah, that's my real opinion on him. I think shot creation and maybe becoming a better 3-point shooter, even with difficulty attached, is what I'd say.
Okay.
I think his playmaking is good enough for a secondary
What?
scorer.
Okay, that's what I was about to. I was about to say. You don't think that the jump he should make
Playmaking?
probably on the playmaking end because I feel like his shot creation is just fine. I think his shot creation is fine. I do think the 3-point shooting got boosted, but I don't see him making a jump because Jokic is still there. You know what I'm saying? So like,
Yeah. But I
so
feel
so
like he needs.
so
I
I
still think his playmaking isn't going to be that much needed because I think Jokic is that supremely talented
that
as a
is true.
playmaker
That is true.
that he's not going to be focusing on trying to become a better playmaker because you have one of the best playmakers of all time on your team.
But
So
that's
I
not
think
that.
the scorer. I think his thing is that he's going to try one be more efficient from the creation of Jokic, and then
Mhm.
two try and work in his shot creation back to be even better as that and his 3-point shooting.
But see, that's why that I don't know. That's why I sort of think that he sort of is the same player. Like I think what he is now is his best self because I think defensively, I think he's solid, right? Like I don't think he's terrible. I think playmaking wise, I think he feeds off of Jokic, which I think is a good thing because Jokic does not need a ball dominant player. He needs a player that does exactly what Jamal Murray does. He knows
Mm-hmm.
when to he knows when to come around. He also knows how to play off of Jokic when Jokic wants to roll. Like he does that very very well. And then as a shot creator, he does like he has like a decent dosage of it, especially in the playoffs when you need that the shot creator to pair alongside Jokic when he's in the post. I think Jamal Murray excels in that. So I think he's maxed out as a player. Like I can't see. I don't know what the better version of Jamal Murray is outside of him doing what he did in the postseason in the regular season. Yeah, yeah, what he done in the postseason, doing in the regular season. But then so I have a second question for you. So how how good of a team do you think that this Nuggets team is then? Because when I spoke
I
about
told you. I think
when
I
I
think
spoke
they're
about
around the same level though. I think they're around the same level. I think that they're like a little bit. I would say they're like a
okay,
significantly worse player.
you think the other teams caught up.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
the Lakers. I think the Lakers are significantly caught up. I think they've addressed everything that they needed except from a POA defender. Because their best POA defender is maybe LeBron, and you kind of don't want LeBron being your POA defender. And Vando, you would say Vando, but Vando isn't going to get enough
So bad of
quality
an
time
offensive
because it's
player.
exactly so.
Yeah.
That's the issue. That's the only thing they're looking for. But that's such a great issue to have.
Yeah.
And so I don't really see much of a problem because at the end of the day, they're like, I think they can sort it out even if they take turns with like Rui, they take turns with LeBron as well. They might move AD to the four. Sorry, put Seawood as the four, and then move AD to the five. They could do so many different ways to try and neuter the issue of having a POA defender wing. So I don't see much of an issue with that part. I think that's mainly the other team that's really caught up to them. Really, I think the Suns is a sleeper team, but I still think that they have so much of a hole in a think of playmaking and then their defense because we haven't seen what their defense is going to look at like before me. I can have a form an opinion on them, and then I don't know what other team to say. Yeah, I think
The
that's it.
Warriors and
No, I don't believe in the Warriors. Yeah, that team's cooked.
and what about the Clippers?
That team's cooked. But anyways,
we already made our statements about how we feel about the Clippers.
yeah, that team's cooked. I ain't told you. The Timberwolves dependent on how
I was just
Anthony
about to
Edwards
say the
progression. The dependent of Anthony Edwards' progression. That's the only other team I can see possibly because of how great the perimeter defense is going to be, how great J Mac, Anthony Edwards, and Rudy Gobert defensively is going to be able to lock down the paint and the certain parts of teams.
I
And
feel like there's another
they've
team.
already done that last season. They actually
I feel
did
like
that last season when they grinded
I
out
feel
some
like
of those
another team
wins.
that you're low key like you're sleeping on the Memphis Grizzlies. I think defensively
No,
I think defensively picking up a player Marcus Smart, who we saw the trouble that he was able to give Joel Embiid, which fair enough, the playmaking gap between the two are like laughable. But Marcus Smart, being on this team, being able to I think Gobi spoke about it last week about his ability to make like these late cuts, like these late interjections into like the offensive flow of the opponent, and being able to like disrupt whatever rhythm the center has going for him. So I think that could, like quiet as kept, be like a big benefit for them. And then I also think Jaren Jackson Jr. being put back at his proper position at the four, Stephen Adams being at the five, Jaren Jackson Jr. being the roamer. I think that is a definite positive that could come out of that series. I don't know. I think that there's teams that could give them disruption. I think the more he spoke about it, the more I'm rocking with the Lakers, like giving the Nuggets the most headache. Right. This is my thing. LeBron.
Hold on, Justin.
Oh,
I'm
go
gonna
ahead.
let you. I'm gonna let you finish real quick, but everybody, I gotta get going because I got somewhere to be in a bit. And I gotta start getting ready. So y'all
Go ahead and
continue
do
with the
your thing, brother.
conversation. All right, I'll holler at y'all next weekend.
All right. But my main gripe is with my main gripe is well, not gripe, but my main concern is LeBron. When we talk about LeBron, I don't think people understand how big of a drop off he had defensively. And so if he is your point of attack defender, like Zeno spoke about, I think that is like a, s- a so-so type of situation that you're in, because although yes, I think that they answered all of the questions like Sonic gave Vincent and Christian Wood, and having AD and LeBron there to be able to help out wherever, like that the offense is going to be far more competent and more consistent. But that's really the one part where I feel like the Nuggets don't have a concern, because the Lakers can have a consistent and a competent offense. The Nuggets have a competent, consistent, and elite. They have a competent, consistent, and elite offensive engine in Nikola Jokic. They have a competent and consistent. Say it again. You're breaking up, Zeno. They have a competent, consistent, and elite shooter in Michael Porter Jr. Maybe not competent, but consistent and elite shooter in Michael Porter Jr. I think Mike Malone doesn't give enough credit for his unique style and his reactionary offense that he has the Nuggets running. So I don't think that they're worried about the offensive end, like them going toe to toe with the Lakers. I think defensively, that's the one part that the Lakers, if the Lakers show early on in the season that they can like maintain a level of consistency defensively, I will be forced to have to acknowledge that the Lakers and the Nuggets are the two at the top of the throne, and it'll be real interesting to see who is, who is the king of the West. Right now, I'm still standing on my point that I think that the Nuggets are the best. They're the best in the entire NBA, and nobody really has a right to that throne because the Nuggets were so much better than everybody else. And I genuinely do not think that anybody has truly gotten to the level outside of the Los Angeles Lakers. But if the Lakers show that their defensive unit, that their defensive consistency paired along with their offensive consistency is like, what in theory it should be, then I will be forced to come back on here and let you guys know that the Lakers are indeed in this fight, and it very much is going to be a fight in the Western Conference Finals between the two. But that is going to do it for this show. We got to talk about the top 10. We got to talk about the top 10 in the league this year. We got to talk about the Miami Heat, the Eastern Conference Finals champions, and we got to talk about the Denver Nuggets, the 2023 NBA champions. So that is going to do it for this episode. Next week, we are going to be talking about, give me 1 second. We are going to be talking about the Charlotte Hornets and the Utah Jazz. That is not going to be a fun episode. We might just not skip on that one. But we're also going to be talking in depth about the award predictions. We're going to be talking about, the MVPs, the DPOYs, the Rookie of the Years, the Six Man of the Years, the Most Improved Player of the Year awards, and we're going to go in depth on why we think that those players may be at the top. And yeah, we're gonna keep this ball rolling. Thank you guys so much for the people that joined the show. I appreciate you guys very much. This is a very rocky show, but we're going to be better next week. So I will holler at you guys later. This is the Casual speaking to you later. Peace.